Rasika devotees. All of you who join here have an incredible taste for relishing the Srimad Bhagavatam, the divine glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And so I pray that I also get some of that same taste that you are all relishing. Hare Krishna. So this morning, we have been asked to read this specific verse on a very, very sweet pastime of the Lord. So let's see, I'll just share a relevant image and we can, okay, let's see this. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summum Bonum, chapter 24, which talks about this pastime of the Govardhan Lila that we have been reading so far. This is chapter 24, and then verse number 14 is today's verse. So I will just read the verse and translation and purport. Okay. So this is Lord Sri Krishna, if you can see the image, speaking to his father, Nanda Maharaj, or Nanda Baba. Baba means father. So Nanda Baba or Nanda Maharaj, he's listening very attentively to his very cute and very sweet son, who is trying to challenge the tradition. That image in and of itself is so captivating. Because you can imagine, this tradition has been followed for generations. And a very small child, just a few years old, maybe 7 or so, is asking, why are we doing this? We should not be doing this. And all the members of the community are very carefully listening. You can see in this image. They're all looking at Krishna, or they're trying to figure out, what is Krishna saying? They're looking at each other, some of them. And Nanda Baba is he's giving him the due attention. He's not telling him, oh, just be quiet. Okay, don't waste our time. He's giving him the time of day. And Krishna is taking advantage of this opportunity to make some very important points, and also accomplishing several goals with this one pastime. That's the beauty of Krishna's pastime, is that in one specific event, he will accomplish so many things. So that is the beauty of the Supreme Lord. And everybody connected to this pastime, anybody who witnessed this pastime, and anybody who hears about this pastime, like we're doing today, will be directly connected with that aspect of the Supreme Lord. And when we're connected with the Supreme Lord, then the time factor becomes irrelevant. It's not that this is a pastime that happened in history and it's never going to happen again, and we just kind of reviewing history. It's not a history book. This is an eternal pastime that's always going on beyond the boundaries of time. So when we hear about it, when we connect our consciousness with this pastime, we are there with Krishna. We are there in that pastime as it's happening eternally. And our soul feels deeply satisfied, purified, and happy if we can allow ourselves to be receptive to this message. So with that, we'll start with the verse. So Krishna says, Asti chedishvara kashe phalarupyanya karmanam kartaram bhajate sopi nahya kartu prabhurhisa. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Actually, this translation purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Even if there is some supreme controller who awards all others a result of their activities, he must also depend upon a performer's engaging in activity. After all, there's no question of being the bestower of fruitive results unless fruitive activities have actually been performed. Purport. Here, Lord Krishna argues that if there is a supreme controller, he must depend on a performer of activity to reciprocate with. And we must therefore also be subject to the laws of karma, being obliged to award happiness and distress to conditioned souls according to the laws of good and evil. This superficial argument neglects the obvious point that the laws of nature that prescribe the good and bad results of pious and impious acts are themselves creations of the all-good Supreme Lord. He's talking about the laws. Being the creator and sustainer of these laws, the Lord is not subject to them. Furthermore, the Lord is not dependent on the work of the conditioned souls, since he is satisfied and complete within himself. Out of his all-merciful nature, he awards the results appropriate to our activities. That which we call destiny, fate, or karma is an elaborate and subtle system of rewards and punishments meant for gradually encouraging conditioned souls to evolve to the stage of perfect consciousness, which is their original constitutional nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has so dexterously formulated and applied the laws of material nature governing punishment and reward for human behavior, that the living being is discouraged from sin and encouraged toward goodness without suffering any significant interference with his free will as an eternal soul. In contrast to the material nature, the Lord exhibits his essential nature in the spiritual world, where he reciprocates the eternal love of his pure devotees. Such loving affairs are based completely on the mutual freedom of the Lord and his devotees, not on a mechanical reciprocation of coinciding selfish interests. The Supreme Lord, assisted by his pure devotees, repeatedly offers the conditioned souls of this world the opportunity to give up their bizarre attempts at exploiting the material universe and go back home, back to Godhead, for an eternal life of bliss and knowledge. Considering all these points, the atheistic arguments given here by Lord Krishna in a playful mood are not to be taken seriously. The purport ends here. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, who has opened my darkened eyes and filled my heart with transcendental knowledge. I further offer my obeisances to all of you, assembled Vaishnavas, and seek your kind blessings and your kind permission that I may recite and read Srimad Bhagavatam in your association. Hare Krishna. So thank you all once again joining this Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Service means, in this case, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam with rapt attention. When we hear with rapt attention, our heart connects to the Supreme Lord. And okay, I hope you can hear me clearly. I'm having some instability in internet, but just let me know if my words didn't make it through. Okay. He's explaining a philosophy to try to convince Nanda Maharaj to not go ahead with
Madana Gopal Prabhu, your words are not making it through.
Okay.
It's very choppy.
Interesting. Maybe I'll stop the screen share. How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah. We'll let you know if it interrupts again.
Yeah. Please go ahead and let me know. So remember, this day was not Govardhan Puja. Govardhan was not part of the picture at all for this day. On our calendar, we call it Govardhan Puja, but on their calendar, it was labeled Indra Puja. They had a calendar, they circled it, Indra Puja. That's the day. That's what we're going to go for. We're going to take all these ingredients, and like yesterday in a class, Prabhuji was explaining very nicely. This is the season. You have a season. So when in the farming community, you have a season. So this is harvest season for them. Right, we do it in Kartik month. So that's the time when you're harvesting. So when you're harvesting, you get so many grains and so many fruits, and everything is in abundance. And so you celebrate. In every culture, there's a harvest festival. Whether you go to, ancient Americans culture, or you go to the Far Eastern in China, or go in India, or go to Africa and Europe, there's always a fall or a harvest festival, a celebration that thank the powers above for giving us rains. Let's celebrate this. And so this celebration is going to take place, and who is to be thanked for the rains is Lord Indra. Of course, he's the one who provides the rains, right? But interestingly, Krishna is saying, no, he's trying to say, it's not important to please Krishna. I mean, to please Indra, it's important to please Krishna. It's important to please me. He's a little boy. But he's trying to say that, look, you are already, all of you, pleasing me. Don't get distracted by pleasing others. So he's saying, even don't waste this one day one day of the year, don't even waste that on somebody else. At the same time, what is Krishna's goal here? One of his other goals was to make Indra angry. Yeah, Krishna likes to if we are proud and if we are getting a little bit off track, Krishna can actually do things to bring out the worst in us. That's a very unusual thing. Usually someone who is your well-wisher will always try to bring out the best in you. In this case, Krishna actually tries to bring out the worst in Indra. It's an interesting thing, because in the end, it is therapeutic. It is to correct him. When the thorn is very, very deep and you have to squeeze it from the side, it looks like you're making it worse. It looks like you're giving more pain to the patient because you're squeezing it to try to get the thorn out. So the thorn of false ego, or like yesterday we were discussing, it's the mountain of false ego that needed to be crushed in Indra's heart. Well, part of the therapy is painful. And so in order for that to work, Krishna first aggravates Indra. Therefore, Prabhupada actually says, it's interesting, in the Krishna book, right? Prabhupada says, he's talking about this particular section of this Karma Mimamsa that we're discussing right now. Without the permission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot bestow any benefit upon others. But sometimes the demigods become puffed up. The Indra was one of them. He gets puffed up by the influence of material nature. Thinking themselves all in all, they forget the supremacy of the personality of Godhead. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is clearly stated that in this instance, Krishna wanted to make King Indra angry. This is Prabhupada's words in Krishna book. He wanted to make Indra angry. Make somebody angry, all of us can do that. We can just irritate the heck out of them. It's not difficult. But generally, it's not advisable to just, be so rude. But Krishna is doing that here for a higher purpose. The Krishna's advent was especially meant for the annihilation of the demons and protection of the devotees. He says, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkritam, kill the demons and protect the devotees. King Indra was not a demon, right? He was certainly a devotee. But because he was puffed up, Krishna wanted to teach him a lesson. So again, Prabhupada says he first made Indra angry by stopping the Indra Puja, which had been arranged by the cowherd men in Vrindavan. With this purpose in mind, Krishna began to talk as if he were an atheist. So see, now Krishna is doing a variety of things just to move everyone's attention away from Indra, trying to explain that, look, there's no point. There's no point of putting Indra in the center. Because If we are doing our karma, we're farming properly, we aren't committing any sinful things, we aren't hurting other people, why on earth do we need to kiss up to Indra? Why do we need to flatter him? We're wasting our time. Let us give gratitude where it's due. Let us focus on the actual source of all our wealth, all our prosperity, Govardhan Hill. So here Prabhupada continues, with this purpose in mind, Krishna began to talk as if he were an atheist supporting the philosophy of karma mimamsa. Advocates of this philosophy do not accept the supreme authority of the personality of Godhead. Even though it's a philosophy, it's actually a philosophical school, one of the 6 very prominent schools of philosophical thought in Vedic times. It precludes the necessity of the existence of God. Or not necessarily existence, but the supreme authority of God. God is there, maybe he must have created something, but once he's put stuff in motion, then he's irrelevant. So that is the karma mimamsa philosophy. It's an atheistic one, that even if there's a God, it's not there. So there are many facets to atheism. There is something where it's explicit atheism, where God does not exist at all. And then there's another similar atheism where it's effectively atheistic, where even if God exists, God is not relevant. Because the real question to ask is not, does God exist? But the question to ask is God available? Is he accessible? Because if he's not available, if he's not accessible, he might as well not exist. You see? So here it says, advocates of this philosophy do not accept the supreme authority of the personality of Godhead. It's an atheistic philosophy. They put forward the argument that if anyone works nicely, the result is sure to come. Their opinion is that even if there is a God who gives man the result of his fruitive activities, there is no need to worship him, because unless man works, he cannot bestow any good result. They say that instead of worshiping a demigod or God, people should give attention to their own duties. This is interesting. Their own duties. And thus the good result will surely come. Lord Krishna began to speak to his father according to these principles of karma mimamsa philosophy. My dear father, he said, I don't think you need to worship any demigod for the successful performance of your agricultural activities. Every living being is born according to his past karma and leaves this life simply taking the result of his present karma. Everyone is born in different types or species of life according to his past activities, and he gets his next birth according to the activities of this life. Different grades of material happiness and distress, comforts and disadvantages of life are different results of different kinds of activities from either past or present life. This is Prabhupada's explanation in the Krishna book of what Krishna was trying to sell to his father. So what is the problem with this philosophy as a whole? There are several issues with this philosophy. Srila Prabhupada actually talks about this in different places. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, of course, he talks about it in Krishna book also, like we just read. But what are the issues with this philosophy? So in the lecture on Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada explains. He says that Mimamsaka means they have decided there is no necessity of worshiping God. If there is a God, all right, do your duty nicely, he'll be obliged to award you result. And there's no question of flattering him. There's no need to worship him, right? You don't need to worship any person. This is the Mimamsa, Karma Mimamsa, right? Everyone is under the spell of karma. Everyone is enjoying the results of his past deeds. So he says, just do your duty, right? But the core problem, Prabhupada explains, he does not know what is his duty. The duty and the only duty of everyone is to worship God. Nothing more. That's what Prabhupada says. That is the duty. All other duties are Maya's spell only. There is no other duty, because this human life is meant for that duty. What? To please Krishna, to serve God, to worship God. The animals cannot execute that duty, only the human being. Therefore, our only duty is to understand God and engage oneself in that way. In other words, if God is not in the center of your dutiful execution of life, you have missed the whole point of the word duty. See? Dharma, that's the point. Dharma is something, it's part of your duty. Your dharma is something that is part of you. It cannot be taken away. It is who you actually are. And at the core, we are all we are all servants of God eternally. We are all devotees of the Lord eternally. And therefore, our core duty is always primarily and first and foremost to serve Krishna. And then all other duties have to be aligned with that one goal. But in this karma mimamsa philosophy, what happens? You're taking the core out completely. You're taking Krishna out of the picture. And then the peripheral aspects of the duties, the varnashram dharma, the peripheral aspect without Krishna in the center, you're just left with a hollow shell or a husk in the name of duty. And therefore, Prabhupada says, it is Maya, it is illusion only. See, another problem with the Mimamsaka philosophy is that, okay, he explains in Krishna book separate in chapter 87, different place, that Mimamsakas, such as Jaimini, they to the highest perfection. But this is contradicted in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna says that by pious activities, one may be elevated to the heavenly planets. But as soon as one's accumulation of the pious activity is used up, one has to leave the enjoyment of a higher standard of material prosperity in the heavenly planets and immediately come down again to these lower planets where the duration of life is very short and where the standard of material happiness is of lower grade. Exact words in the Gita are Kshine Punye Martya Lokam Vishanti. Therefore, the conclusion of the Mimamsaka philosophers that pious activities will lead one to the absolute truth is not valid. See, so the Mimamsaka idea that perfection lies in only doing your peripheral duties of just doing pious things, helping each other out, leaving God out of the picture. You know, if you're a farmer, you do the farming. If you're a Kshatriya, you do your Kshatriya dharma. If you're a businessman, you do your business. If you're a laborer, you do your labor. And if you're an advisor or you're, teacher, philosopher, you do your work. Just focus on your work. You know what to do. Just follow the protocols of your particular varna. And if you do it with a high degree of integrity, that'll lead to the perfection of your life. What Prabhupada is saying is, no, that does not lead to absolute truth, because Krishna is saying that in the Gita. Right? Although a pure devotee is by nature inclined to pious activities, no one can attain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by pious activities alone. Pious activities may purify one of the contamination caused by ignorance and passion. But this is automatically attained by a devotee who is constantly engaged in hearing the transcendental message of Godhead in the form of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and other similar scriptures. From the Bhagavad Gita, we understand that even a person who is not up to the standard of pious activities, but who is absolutely engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, is to be considered well situated on the path of perfection. It is also said in Bhagavad Gita that a person who is engaged in devotional service with love and faith is guided from within by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord himself, as Paramatma, or the spiritual master sitting within one's heart, gives the devotee exact directions by which he can gradually go back to Godhead. The conclusion of the Mimamsaka philosophers is not actually the truth, which can lead one to understanding. So this is from the Krishna book on chapter 87, and it is such a beautiful, concentrated alignment of ideas that really drives home the point that Krishna has to be in the center. Even though we as practitioners may not be as perfect as some of these karma mimamsakas who just know their duties, their high level of integrity, they have a high level of sense control, and they're very focused on their work, and they're very competent. And on the other hand, is someone like us, maybe, we don't have that much competence or focus we don't even know what our peripheral duties are. But if we recognize the importance of putting Krishna in the center, and then sincerely bow down to the Lord, sincerely serve the Lord with our utmost heart and our capacity, then the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, will align us. He will make sure we do get aligned by the mechanisms that he set up in place, which is the Lord in the heart as a guru, and of course the spiritual masters who are available to us, who are authorized and bona fide. So by the combination of all that help, we can quickly overcome any misalignments that we may have. So what is the standard? Absolute engagement in devotional service. So what Krishna is looking for is not perfection of our peripheral dharmas or our peripheral duties, or even what we call fruitive activities. He is looking for a sincere desire in our heart to please him, to serve him, because that's what makes us happy actually in the end. See, now how do we do that? We surrender. Okay, what does surrender mean? Surrender is a very big word, but Krishna wants us to surrender. In this picture, Krishna is actually getting all the Brajavasis to surrender unto him. Now they already surrender unto him, but he says the surrender, I want it absolute. I don't want any distractions. I don't want you to waste your time, trying to please the demigods. You please Govardhan, who is myself. So you surrender unto me, and everything will be perfect. So what does surrender mean in our lives? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Saradharman paritejya mamekam sharanam vraja. You surrender unto me. Towards the end, right? 18th chapter. And in the purport of that very, very famous verse, Srila Prabhupada tells us what that surrender looks like. That surrender can be broken down to 6 components, the 6 aspects of surrender. Dainya, Atma Nivedana, things like being humble, giving our heart, recognizing Krishna as our maintainer, Goptrite Varanam, recognizing Krishna as our only protector, and so on. So there's different aspects of surrender that we can study and learn about. And if we meditate on those aspects and apply them in our lives, that really show our faith in the Lord, that my Lord, I know that I don't need to worry. You'll be there for me. That abandonment of our worry is what pleases Krishna the most. The whole Bhagavad Gita is about worry. Did you know that? The opening verse of Bhagavad Gita, which Krishna starts speaking, Ashochan anvashocastvam, starts with the word shocha. Shocha means worry. And then in the conclusion, it says, Saradharam paritijya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshaishyami ma shucha. Ma means don't. Shucha, worry. So in the beginning, when Krishna first started speaking, he said, you are worrying for something that's not worth worrying about. And after going the whole material of Bhagavad Gita and all aspects of it, at the end, he says, Ma Shucha. So the 6 symptoms of surrender are different aspects of how much we have abandoned our worry. We have to de-stress ourselves. The whole Bhagavad Gita is a stress management book, but we are stressed. He's always has been. We will not be worried, and we can then engage in our true duty, in our true platform of happiness. So eighteenth chapter, Bhagavad Gita, chapter verse 66. Kshepakarpanye Shadvida Sharanagati. So this is from Hari Bhakti Vilas. So the Shadvida means the 6 kinds of surrender. So 6 aspects of surrender is what? What are they? Protect him from all difficulties. So that's a distress. I don't need to worry, basically, are confident. You see, confidence doesn't mean arrogance. Confidence, arrogance may look similar, but confident means that my Lord is there for me no matter what. He'll protect me from all difficulty. That's one. Right? There is no need to think of how one will keep the body and soul together. Who will maintain my life? Where will I get my next meal? I don't need to worry. Krishna is there. Of course, doesn't mean we don't do anything, but that stress, what's my career? Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? I could just lose my job, and my children will throw me out of the house, or all kinds of things are going to happen. That stress eats away at us, zaps our energy. That stress comes from not having faith in the Lord. When you have strong faith, that stress is gone. That's the second component. Then anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. Taking up everything that's conducive to my Krishna conscious growth. If I find out that, okay, eating only Krishna prasadam is good for me, giving up non-Krishna prasadam, that's also good for me. So that is anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. So the 2 other things. Giving up things that are bad for my Krishna consciousness, and taking up things that are good for my Krishna consciousness. That's already 4 things. Then Atmanikshepa Karpanye Shadvida Sharana. So then being humble all the time, having a humble demeanor. Dainya Atmanivedana. So that's Dainya. That is the 5th one. And Atmanivedana, then fully bowing down to the Lord and expressing to the Lord that, my Lord, I am yours. You are mine. And then reminding ourselves that we've made that promise to the Lord openly with our heart. My Lord, I'm yours. You've always possessed me in the sense, I've always belonged to you, but now I recognize it. And I will act on that platform. I will reciprocate with you on that platform. And when we do these 6 things, that constitutes complete surrender. All right. So as a reference, please make a note. It's 1866 Bhagavad Gita, Andrea. And it's a really nice way to kind of recap remind ourselves and make a recap every day that let me surrender more and more. Hare Krishna. So thank you once again for joining. I appreciate the time that you always offer me to share some of my readings. And I look forward to joining you again and again. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If anybody has any comments or questions or corrections, kindly share now. Haribol.
Thank you, Madana Gopal Prabhu. Beautiful class. We're all eager to surrender to Krishna. And surrender is not something that just happens once. It's a day-to-day, moment-to-moment process. Every time we choose Krishna over anything else, that's surrender. Okay, Adipusha Prabhu, Temple Room. I see Arjuna Prabhu in the back. That's very auspicious.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So the passage is grappling with what's the right thing to do. And there's some philosophy presented by Krishna, which Srila Prabhupada clears up as Krishna's doing this tongue-in-cheek. He doesn't really mean it. Thank goodness Srila Prabhupada is there to clarify this so we don't take that at face value. But the line of demarcation between different kinds of activities, even religious activities, there's a line that we cross and we find ourselves on one side or the other. Is this activity selfish? Even if it's offered to someone, is it done so that I will benefit? Is that the motivation? Or is there love? And Krishna says, I'll even accept a leaf, some water, if it's offered with love. And then that makes the activity appropriate. So it's a pretty simple principle, but it's so easy to get lost. Demigod worship is one variety of worship mentioned in the scripture, but it's basically fruitive and motivated for that. What will I get? Which leaves us out of the experience of a loving relationship with Krishna. And it seems to me that it's so funny because they're listening to him, even though it's not really sound philosophy, because they love him, they're listening to him. We have to love and trust the person who's speaking to us. So the spiritual master is available and worthy of our trust. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very beautiful points, Guru. Very beautiful points about the motivation. What is our motivation in serving the Lord? Are we offering that leaf flower with the love? Bhaktiya. Krishna uses the word bhakti twice in that one small verse, Bhaktiya mamupahita, right? Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. And if one who offers me with love, I'll accept it if he's offered it with love. Like he says it twice. It's almost a very redundant thing, but he loves that so much. Very important, the motivation. Great point, Adi Purush.
More glories to Prabhupada.
And Madana Gopal Prabhu, what if we worship Krishna the same way people worship demigods, expecting something in return? Is that something that will bring us anywhere? How does that work? Will Krishna grant that?
Very good point. Very good point. What if we worship Krishna with ulterior motives, material, selfish reasons? Should we worship Krishna if that's our goal? Will that get us anywhere? Will it make us? Is that a waste of time? So it is not. And we've learned that from Bhagavatam, many places. You see the story of Dhruva Maharaj, who approached Krishna for a very selfish, materialistic goal. And later on, he realizes, because Krishna gave him what he wanted, but he also gave him his own darshan, that Dhruva Maharaj realized he asked for the wrong thing. But he benefited, even though he was motivated and he was turbocharged by this intense feeling that, no, I got to win everything now. I'm going to have a kingdom greater than my grandfather. And grandfather is Lord Brahma. Okay. So he wanted something pretty big and he got it. But later on, he realized that what I asking for was broken glass, and my Lord, you gave me the actual diamond, which is yourself. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a famous verse, Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. That whether you have zero material selfish desires or sarva kamo va, if you have all material desires, or you couldn't care less, you just want out of here, moksha kama, you just want moksha, you want liberation. Udaradi. So these are three categories. Zero material desires, it means spiritual desires. You want to be a lover of Krishna, that's the top. Or all material desires. I want to be the mayor of my town, or the state senator, or I want to be US senator, or I want to be US president, and I'll be able to control so many things. And I also want to be a bazillionaire, and I want to, not just own a Tesla, but I want to own the Tesla company. I mean, whatever, all desires. Or moksha kama. I'm sick and tired of this world. I just want to get out of here. I don't care about loving God or anything. I just want relief. Doesn't matter. So if any of these three categories, if you are intelligent, udaradhi, if you have broad-minded intelligence, then what will you do? Tivrena bhakti yogena, with the utmost intensity. Tivra means intense, okay? This is important. With intensity, you engage in bhakti yoga to worship the Supreme Lord. In other words, it doesn't matter what fuel you're using to drive the car of your devotional service. The car will move. These are the three fuels. The motivation is the fuel, is the turbocharging liquid that keeps you going. It doesn't matter. For example, if my motivation is to really impress people how cool I am, and I practice my piano for 13, 14 hours a day just to impress the girl who lives across the street, but I'm doing it just for that pure motivation that maybe she'll like me, and I do it week after week after week, I'll make it to Carnegie Hall. That girl may get married to somebody else, never see me again, but I've made it to Carnegie Hall. So it doesn't matter what my motivation was. I made it to Carnegie Hall, you see. So that's the verse is telling us, it doesn't matter what your motivation is. You intensely worship Krishna. That process itself will purify you. And even if your motivation is wicked, it doesn't matter. Putana's motivation was wicked, but she got elevated to the spiritual world, Golok Vrindavan. She wanted to kill Krishna, but because she did it in a motherly mood, the externals were all there. She gave it everything she had to make sure it looked good. And Lord Brahma later on recollects, he says, Sadveshadiva Putana api sakula, that just by dressing up as a devotee, you reckon that she was just pretending to be a devotee, you saw her as a devotee, you gave her everything. Tameva deva pita tad damat suhrit priyatma tanaya pranashayas pratkrite. This is in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto, verse number 35. Beautiful verse, you should read that one, where Brahma recognizes that Krishna, you gave yourself completely to Putana of all people, just because she pretended to be devotee. You are bankrupt now. You have nothing left to give this beautiful residence Vrindavan. He's poetically saying that you're so generous, my Lord. You know. So your question is a very good one. Should we abandon our devotional service if we see that, oh, my motivation is selfish? Forget, I should not worship Krishna anymore because my motivation is not pure. My heart is not pure. I'm doing it for the wrong reason, so I should not do it. And the answer is no, you should still do it because the process itself is purifying. And then later on, you recognize that, yes, it was a mistake, but at least I did not abandon the process. And that's what matters. Stick with the process. Stay in the bus, you know. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
What a wonderful answer, Madana Gopal Prabhu. Shastrik, funny. I was thinking, I'm all three at the same time. I want to be a mayor. I want a Tesla. I'm also exhausted materially. And I also want to serve Krishna. All three of them. Okay. Any further questions, dear devotees? I have a very qualified speaker today. Take advantage.
There's
William?
a question in the chat by Andrea.
He already answered it.
So yeah, we already covered that, yes.
Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry. Can you repeat it again, please?
The 6 symptoms of surrender? Yes, so I'll just summarize. Basically, doing things that are favorable to Krishna consciousness, abandoning things that are unfavorable to Krishna consciousness, having a strong trust that Krishna will always protect me, having a strong faith that I'll be maintained by Krishna, maintaining a sense of humility always, and then feeling that recognizing that I belong to you, my Lord, I surrender myself completely, I'm yours. So those are the 6 aspects of surrender, and if we perfect all of them, then we've perfected ourselves in surrender. So that's how we do it.
Krishna, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Madana Gopal Prabhu, William Prabhu, Andrea, Adipurusha Prabhu, can you turn your camera on? Maybe we can take darshan of the Lord. Okay.
The deities open late and I have to move the car, so
Oh, you left. Okay, no problem.
Oh, it's Sunday. We open a little bit later on Sunday. That's right.
Okay, we can take one more reflection, dear devotees. One more reflection. Something that you liked, something that you're taking home with you from this class.
I have
Let's do
I have a question.
Vinisha.
I'm wondering if you could say more about the last aspect of surrender. I know that the word in Sanskrit, I think it's something like giving one's soul to Krishna, and I hear it interpreted in different ways. Like what you said was, I'm yours, and in other places I've seen it sort of the willingness to give your life or actually your soul in a kind of more almost extreme manner. I'm just curious if you could say more about the shades and the meaning of the word. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Great question, because that's one that's not immediately clear. It's called Atma Nikshepa, giving one's soul. What does that even mean? Because that's just as say vague as the word surrender. The others are clear. Giving up things that are not competitive, and those are fairly crisply defined. But at the end, what it means is that, in a sense, that last component is almost like a summarization of the above five, you can say, but it culminates in this sense that now I am your property for you to do as you wish with me. This is reflected in Lord Chaitanya Shikshashtakam also, where he says that you are free to do with me what you wish, even if you handle me roughly by your embrace, or you're not present before me and you're breaking my heart. It doesn't matter, my Lord, no matter what you do to me, I will always be yours. No matter how, even if you do things to bring out the worst in me, or whatever it is, I don't care. I am yours, right? Like in product to be a little angry or whatever it is. But the Krishna doesn't really do that to his pure devotees. He always brings out the best in them. So an example, the classic example of this component or element of surrender is in the Ramayana. In the Ramayana, let's go to the shore of the ocean, where Lord Rama is now. They've discovered that Sita is in Lanka on the other side of the ocean. Hanuman came back, gave the full report that, look, I burned down Lanka and everything. Sita Devi is there waiting for you to go and rescue her. And then as they're planning out their rescue plan, they see a bunch of like flying demons coming toward them. These demons can fly, right? So they're coming toward them, and Hanuman and Jambavan, not Jambavan, I think mostly just Hanuman, some of the other monkeys are like, oh no, demons coming, let's kill them right away before they even get close. We'll just shoot them and kill them, knock them out of the sky. But Lord Ram said, no, look carefully. It looks like they're not armed, like they're not shooting anything at us. They haven't pulled out their swords. They seem to be coming with folded hands. And then the monkey's like, yeah, maybe they're just pretending. And then when they get closer, they'll attack us. No. Give them a chance. So it turns out that demon was actually Ravana's younger brother, who's Vibhishan. And Vibhishan is a pure devotee of the Lord. That's amazing, right? Sometimes demons in demon families, you get some pure devotees, like Prahlad is one of them. So this Vibhishan is a pure devotee of the Lord. And he came to surrender. And as he was bowing down, some of the monkeys, let's kill him. And Lord Ram, then he makes this famous statement. He says, Sakrideva prapannate. Tavan Yashmi Abhayam Prada, something like that, where he says that if one says even once to me that, my Lord, I am yours and you are mine, even once, even non-committally, if one gets overcome by a sense that I belong to you and I'm now going to do whatever you want, that is an attitude. You see, it's a mindset that you get overcome by, and you will do anything for the person you have just fallen in love with. That mindset is what we're talking about. Then Lord Ram says, Sakradeva Prapannate, even non-committally, if one does that, I will award him fearlessness from everything. That person becomes confident in that life. You see, Abhayam Prada. And that fearlessness allows us to make massive progress in spiritual life. Remember, most of our issues are internal. And a lot of the core of our internal issues are insecurity of various flavors, various levels. And so when we become truly fearless, and that fearlessness has been awarded by the Lord, because we have made an attempt to become his consciously and conscientiously, that strength, the inner strength that the Lord empowers us with, pulls us through. And therefore, that particular component of surrender, which is, my Lord, I am yours, it's that mindset that we're talking about. So we can, when we see these examples, it gets clearer what this means, that my Lord, I am yours, please accept me. And when we have that mindset and we chant, for example, our japa with that mindset, it is very powerful. My Lord, I'm yours, please accept me, please accept me. Once Prabhupada asked, what does this mean with chanting Hare Krishna? Prabhupada always saying, it's a prayer, my Lord, please accept me. That's a prayer, please accept me. You know, engage me in your service, right? So that means please accept me, you know. So that's that aspect of it. It's not an easier one to explain, but when we give examples like this, it gets a little clearer. I hope that helps, Venetia. It's a great question.
It's perfect answer. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Venetia is yours. And Madana Gopal Prabhu is yours. William Prabhu is yours. Jeffrey Eckler is yours, Krishna. Krishna Andrea is yours. William Prabhu and family, his whole family is yours. Scarlett is yours. Bruce Prabhu, Krishna. Bruce Prabhu is yours. Yogeshwar is yours, Krishna. Suzanne is yours. Sundaranandaji and his family is yours. Amrita Kishori Didi is yours, Krishna. Papi C is yours, Krishna. Dana Krishna's Radharani is yours, Krishna. Kartik Prabhu is yours. Domi is yours, Krishna. Prema Vinodni Didi is yours. Rupesh Prabhu is yours, Krishna. Angel is yours. And Bhima Das is yours. And all his horses are yours, Krishna.
No, I'm not. I'm my own. I'm my own man. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, Bhima Prabhu is delusional, Krishna. Please don't listen to him.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Once again, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Beautiful class. Thanks everyone for participating. Come back tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavatam never ends. Hare Krishna. Love you all. Hadi Hadi Bol.